Welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist community of Charlotte. I'm Eve Stevens. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm one of the ministers of this congregation. Over this past year, I have spent more time outdoors than at any other time in my adult life. Like so many people during the pandemic, when the walls felt like they were closing in, when we felt most confined and isolated, my family and I found solace outdoors. As we experienced the rhythms of the natural world with a 3-year-old and a newborn, we realized that we'd not made enough time in the past for these magnificent neighbors just right outside our door. We spent this past year, my family, learning what wonderful company trees can be. There they were every day, oak trees and loblolly pines and sweet gum, exposed to the elements, steady, yet incredibly adaptable. We marveled at their patient beauty and how they model what so many sages tell us we ought to try, the art of being rather than doing. It's hard not to notice the steadfast trunks of trees, and especially in summer, their lush, leafy branches. Yet so much of what provides a tree with nutrients and the source of a tree's resilience lies out of sight, underground. There is understandably a recent fascination among ecologists and naturalists with the root systems of trees, a fascination with the complex and layered world that exists, teeming with life and connection unseen beneath our feet. How the roots of an oak reach out underground to the roots of a sweet gum, not to compete for resources, but to intertwine, sustain, and support their shared life. This service this morning kicks off our summer theme, Roots Hold Me Close. This summer, we're curious about the rich, layered life we don't see in one another at a glance. The loves and commitments that tether a person. The relationships and the values that root us in meaningful lives. We'll spend Sunday morning services hearing personal reflections from our members, exploring questions like, what roots you? What grounds you? To what is your life committed? What is it that you can't not do? What makes you who you are? Our programming will provide opportunities for you to reflect on these questions in small groups and to celebrate the experiences and relationships and values that provide you with nutrients and resilience. We invite you to spend the warm weeks ahead reveling in what grounds you and celebrating the joyous gift to this world that is you. And we know that as we give our roots space to unfurl, we'll discover together all the sacred places where our lives intertwine. Welcome, members and guests. Now head on over to our public Facebook page where you can greet one another in real time in the comments underneath today's welcome post.
It is part of our tradition as a people of faith that when we come together, we acknowledge the sacredness of the time and space we share by lighting a chalice, the symbol of our liberating faith. With this flame, we honor the inherent worth and dignity of our neighbors and the inherent worth and dignity of ourselves. By this light, we celebrate our interdependence and the interweaving of our courage, commitments, and compassion.
My youngest child, who we call Henry and Hank interchangeably, is at a magical age. He recently figured out that he is his own person and that he knows what he wants. And ever so slowly, with his handful of words, he's learning to communicate with us. Interacting with him at this stage is a lot like what I imagine it would be like to connect with an extraterrestrial. You don't expect to be able to understand one another, and then out of nowhere the other night I said, "Do you want more?" And he goes, "Mo?" And it feels like something mind-blowing and otherworldly has occurred. I've made contact with the world inside my child's head. A place I believed to be populated with thoughts, but hadn't had all the evidence I needed to be sure. Then suddenly, after months of having to guess what he wants, he can tell me. And I think to myself, is there anything more wonderful than this tiny human? And then the other tiny human in my life comes in, my 3-year-old Ethan, to tell me that in between eating his dinner and leaving the table, he has become a race car. And could I please time him as he races across the room, arms flung behind his body, plowing headfirst into the comfy chair, yelling, "There's fire in my pipes!" His face is lit up with pure enjoyment of tearing recklessly this way and that, fearing nothing. And I feel for a moment how one of the greatest gifts of my life is being one of very few people who will see the sweetness that spreads across that same little face when he sleeps. I am most clear about why I get up in the morning. I am most grateful that I inhabit this glorious life here and now. I am most grounded and present and certain of what purpose I serve in this world when I'm with Henry and when I'm with Ethan. During my first ministry, I ran a campus ministry at a local college. On Sunday evenings, I would gather with a small group of students in the loft of the campus chapel for what we called Covenant Group. We advertised Covenant Group as a space in which we would take the time to talk about what matters most. You didn't need to read anything to prepare for discussion. All you needed was lived experience and a willingness to share from the heart. We met all year long, and I came to so look forward to Sunday evenings. I'd spend them with this group of young people settled on comfy couches, cupping mismatched coffee mugs in their palms. And I'd watched as they opened up to one another more and more, meeting by meeting, revealing childhood histories, experiences of loss, intimate insecurities, longings, and loves. During the last class I took in seminary, the professor had asked us, "What part of ministry do you take most seriously?" There had been a variety of answers that ranged from leading worship to activism to personal spiritual practice. I realized the part of ministry I took most seriously was connecting people with one another and with community, helping them find a space in which they could giggle or fall apart with equal ease. A holy space of belonging where every individual could speak from the most honest and tender part of themselves. Witnessing the magic that would unfold in the chapel loft on Sunday nights, I felt so close to my calling. It was exhilarating to watch and to listen as story by story, they built a space of belonging. It was one of these young people in Covenant Group who put into words one evening the standard by which I want to measure my own life. She asked, "Do other people feel loved in your presence? Do other people feel loved in your presence?" On a given day, when for whatever reason my answer to this question is no, it doesn't sit well with me. Falling short of this aspiration is something I cannot easily brush away and ignore. When I miss this mark, this commitment, this attempt to be a loving, welcoming presence in the world, I feel regret. When I meet this standard, when I leave an encounter knowing others felt loved in my presence, I feel a momentary wholeness and peace. This is a reading by the great mystic Howard Thurman, found in his work entitled For the Inward Journey. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. Despite the dullness and barrenness of the days that pass, if I search with due diligence, I can always find a deposit left by some former radiance. But I had forgotten. At the time, it was full-orbed, glorious, and resplendent. I was sure that I would never forget. In the moment of its fullness, I was sure that it would illumine my path for all the rest of my journey. I had forgotten how easy it is to forget. There was no intent to betray what seemed so sure at the time. My response was whole, clean, authentic. But little by little, there crept into my life the dust and grit of the journey. Details, lower level demands, all kinds of cross currents, nothing momentous, nothing overwhelming, nothing flagrant, just wear and tear. If there had been some direct challenge, a clear-cut issue, I would have fought it to the end and beyond. In the quietness of this place, surrounded by the all-pervading presence of God, my heart whispers, keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, that in fair weather or in foul, in good times or in tempests, in the days when the darkness and the foes are nameless or familiar, I may not forget that to which my life is committed. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. What roots me, what grounds me, is primarily relationships and relatedness. I need time to myself, I do. It's good for me to spend time alone in my inner world, but I tend to feel lost in there after too long. And if you ask me, Eve, what is it that you can't not do. I'd say connect with people. Conversations with my husband after our children are in bed when I'm reminded how funny he is. Phone calls with old friends on a long drive. Even the snippets of company and conversation with strangers that sometimes happen in the cereal aisle ground me. Scholar and practitioner of Islam Omid Safi writes about his study of Rumi's epic poem, the Masnavi, which begins, "This is the book of the rhyming couplets, and it is the root of the faith." Safi muses, "The sages called us to keep exploring what it is that roots us, that grounds us, that anchors us. Is it our family?" he asks. "Is it self-confidence?" Safi continues, "If these are what root us, what in turn roots them? What is at the root of the root?" Relationships are the roots that keep me tethered in my life. And what grounds these relationships, what is the root of my root, is community. This larger experience of relatedness, of kinship with other humans who witness and honor one another's lives with their attention and pass down this tradition of a larger belonging, generation by generation.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come.
Oh, hello. I didn't see you standing there. I'm Chris Clark. I'm a member of your stewardship committee and also a member of this community. On behalf of your stewardship committee and this community, I want to thank you for your pledges this past year and your commitment to those pledges. This has been a rather challenging year, but through all of those pledges and commitments, we have managed to maintain and grow this thriving community. As we transition into the new year and we start phasing back into in-person gatherings and rebuilding our existing connections and friendships and building new ones on top of that, I want you to think about what this community means to you and how your commitment to your community can help it continue to grow and continue to thrive. And as you do come back into this building and this place, I hope that you take the time to look around both inside and out to see all the beauty that is here. And in the meantime, I'm going to go back to my flower.
Good morning and welcome. I am Kelly Green, Membership Coordinator for this community. We are so glad you're with us today. If you are new and you want to learn more about us, I hope you will contact me. You can email me at kelly@uuccharlotte.org. I can also help you get in touch with one of our ministers if you are interested in that. Please check out our newsletter, Currents, at www.uuccharlotte.org. There are so many opportunities to learn more about us and get involved, to meet us virtually and in person. They're all listed in Currents, or you can contact me and I'll be happy to help you find your way through all of it. Again, welcome.
To our guests, I add my welcome to Kelly's as well. I'm so glad you can be with us this morning. Members and guests, weather permitting, we will gather on our grounds here at 11 a.m. this morning to sing together in community. We have a plethora of meaningful ways to engage with our summer theme, Roots, Hold Me Close. In the coming days, there are two most immediately upcoming offerings, a session called Celebrating Our Pleasure Lineage, and following that, a session called I Am From, a poetic exploration of our roots. If you're looking to socialize, check out Currents for more about an upcoming drum circle, board and card game get-togethers, and an in-person murder mystery game. In community, we are sending love to Surfside, Florida, to all those affected by the collapse of a condo building there. We hold those who have lost loved ones, those still waiting to hear, and the relief workers in their impossible task in our prayers. Here in our congregation, we celebrate with Chris Clark and Denise Weldon Clark upon the birth of their great niece. We hold in our prayers our Director of Administration, Alicia Hutto, her husband Omar, and their family as they grieve the death of Omar's father. We hold in our hearts Felicia and Tom Lee as Tom recovers from an injury. We celebrate with Erin Ruth Manis and Bailey Reidinger upon their engagement. We hold in our prayers Kathleen and Carter Utzig and their family as they mourn Kathleen's father's death. We hold in our hearts Carrie Ann Wolf in this time of concern for the health of both her parents.
This community has held, lifted, inspired, transformed so many. Probably many of you experienced that this morning. And this community exists because we make it possible. Whatever you can give this morning, please do, so that we can continue. Thank you.
I invite you now into meditation. Close your eyes and deepen your breath. Relax your shoulders and your jaw. Release the tension in your palms. Breathe deeply. And as you breathe, call on the source of your strength. As we breathe together, I offer you these words by Teresa I. Soto. Even though they are edible, someone decided that dandelions are weeds, stragglers to destroy, to uproot. But dandelions never got the memo, never thought to care. Busy instead with dropping roots, flinging seeds, unfurling shoots, and persistent in digging in that taproot to depths of 2 or 3 average adults end to end, the tiny yellow flower survives. You are no less resilient, reaching both down to the strength that holds you and up to the light, out with your beauty. And you know, having sunk your effort into the cool, damp earth, that while dandelions can be clipped and fought, uninvested in anyone's opinion, they throw their sparkling futures onto the wind. Tomorrow tucked into seeds, and grow all the way back, strong and bowing at the very same time. Blessed be. Amen. Be well and reach out when you need us.